Hey guys, we're here at the 2023 NXL World Cup. We're going to take you inside and let you check out the new Shocker ERA. Follow me. Hey guys, I'm here to talk to Russell from Shocker Paintball. We're going to go over the new Shocker ERA.
Welcome guys, thanks for stopping in the booth. This is the new Shocker ERA. So first of all, we'll start with the name. The ERA is named such because it calls a lot of the design features of Shockers from previous generations. You have the knurled back cap back from the shoebox. You have the milled logo like on the NXT, and then that sleek overall body perception that you had on the SFT. We did a lot of other changes as far as weight balance. We brought the weight balance back a little bit more towards the back of the marker. The front grip has been increased by about 30%, and then if you notice this elevated metal component here, it actually locks it onto the body and doesn't allow any rotation at all, so you have a much more secure situation there. We've added grip to the standard grip, so it's the same pattern, but we increased the texture to give you a little bit more purchase. We've also increased the grip height, the grip frame height by about 1/4 of an inch. That's going to let you get a little bit more space if you happen to grab low and fire with one finger. The other thing we've done with the trigger and the trigger frame is the board has been redesigned to increase reliability and eliminate some common issues. So one of the issues we ran into with the amp and previous versions of the Shocker is people might misadjust the trigger, which would allow them to damage the micro switch. In this case, we repositioned the micro switch using a longer lever with a wall behind it. So no matter how you adjust this trigger now, you're not going to damage your board, which is a very expensive part. So that's, again, a great savings there. You'll also notice when you look at the body actually comes down and shrouds the grip frame. So instead of one butting into the other, you actually fits into a pocket, which is going to prevent paint and water intrusion. Even if somebody's right up on top of you and shoots you point blank, you're not going to have any paint or water intrusion to those contact points between the eye and the board, or between the solenoid and the board. So you have an enhanced reliability there. Barrel-wise, you'll notice that the ERA uses the new 15-inch All-American barrel introduced last year. The ports have gone smaller and the barrel has gone longer, so the surface area is the same, but it's going to shoot through brakes better than the previous version. The back, we've eliminated all the through porting, which means it's going to stay cleaner when it's in your gear bag, much less chance of contamination. Finally, exteriorly, we removed the shrouding on the regulator and de-shrouded the barrel, so if you do happen to drop the gun, you're not going to bend something that prevents you from being able to use it. Finally, before we really set off on the development of the ERA, we looked at the #1 reason people sent the marker back to us to repair rather than repairing it themselves, and we found it was actually a result of Loctite. So the body to frame plug was held with Loctite, and when you had the gun left in a car or another place where it would reach 110 degrees, that Loctite would soften and eventually produce a leak. So with the ERA, we've completely eliminated Loctite. We don't use it anywhere. So the frame to body port is now a floating tube. Same thing down here, which not only eliminates Loctite, but also introduces a really interesting feature that's unique to the ERA currently. And that's if your ASA is loose or your frame's loose, you'll be able to feel it long before it leaks. So on a lot of other markers, if your ASA gets loose and starts leaking, you're out of the point. With this, you can have that so loose you can see daylight through it and still make it through the point, get back to the pit, and fix your marker. So it's not going to take you out of the point. So these are just some basic things that are unique to this platform that we've introduced. Now the amp in and of itself had an amazing bolt kit. The efficiency, the operating pressure, and everything was exactly what people wanted. So we went to look at what people really wanted us to do, and we found that at the extremes of paint, so very large paint and very small paint, there was opportunity to improve. So if you look down the face of our bolt and they unscrew our firing can, and you actually see that now the bolt guide uses this cone which advances the ball in the bolt face. So this does a couple things. Obviously it helps with smaller paint, but the key component versus a flat face bolt is it doesn't restrict airflow. So when you have a flat face bolt or a rubber face bolt, you essentially have something stopping air. What this does is it just guides the air through, so you have zero reduction in flow, which means you're going to have the same operating pressure and same efficiency as the outgoing marker, as well as a quieter sound signature. Basically, the two black pieces that you see are unchanged from the amp, so the firing chamber and the shuttle are unchanged, but the rest of the bolt has changed. The other big thing we did is to change the staging timing. So if you notice on the bolt, it now has a perforated skirt, whereas the previous version went across and flat. What that does is it changes the acceleration arc of the bolt. So the bolt actually accelerates from a stop to chambering the ball at a few milliseconds less. And what that's going to do is, again, we're talking about extremes in paint handling, so incredibly brittle paint or incredibly cold conditions, that bolt extending slower is going to cause less microfractures in the shell of the paint, which is going to reduce your ball breakage in your barrel. So you have just a lot of enhancements to help with paint handling. And then finally, this tip helps a lot in mech play. So one of the things in electronic play is you always have the eyes to fall back on so that you don't chop a ball. In mech, you don't have that, and you're also shooting from a lot of weird positions in woods ball. You know, you're under a log, you're climbing a tree, what have you. So the paint stack is going to move around a lot more, and you have a higher chance of clipping. By using this anti-rollback feature and repositioning the detents, you have zero chance of that ball moving around, whether it's a 6.95 ball or a 6.79 ball. It's going to stay straight in that stack. So while it really won't affect paint handling with electronic, this is going to handle paint better mechanically. In changing the way that stage works and the way the rollback feature works, unfortunately this will not go into an amp, but it does, again, carry a lot of that performance. The last piece on the outside of the bolt, you notice this orange O-ring. This orange O-ring actually has two positions, down here in the lower part and up here in the upper part. When it's in its upper part, it's actually restricting the flow of air into the bolt, which slows down the stage. It's going to give you your softest, smoothest shot. If you move it to its rear position, it opens up the flow to that bolt, and this bolt will function in some pretty incredible conditions. We've frozen it in a deep freezer. We've shot it without lubricant. So when you move it down at that location, you have a high flow bolt that's going to shoot in a lot of crazy conditions. Or if you have a player that doesn't take very good care of their equipment, it's going to enhance the reliability there. So what you have is every single part of the marker has been massaged and improved by player feedback. And we really feel that this is, the best gun for the money in paintball right now.
Definitely, guys, check out. Thank you for the walkthrough on this Shocker. Check them out at bfpgear.com.